everybody. Now, over and over through the pandemic, we've heard people mentioning that it is impossible for them to comfortably move through online meetings and virtual events because they are terrified of the camera. Now, whether that's a live event that they have to speak in front of a camera or something that is pre-recorded, this paralyzing fear is very, very common for millions of people around the world. In fact, public speaking as a whole is considered the second greatest phobia that people have. But today we're going to go over 6 things that you can do to help to get over your fear of camera. Now, if we haven't met before, my name is Liz and I love talking about video marketing, public speaking, and how to use social media for your business. So let's go. Now, if you've ever been about to speak to a camera or speak in front of a bunch of people and been gripped by paralyzing fear and unable to get any words out of your mouth, that is a natural response because all the cortisol is being released through your body and it's sharpening your senses and also triggering memories of moments of anxiety in your life. That's what causes you to completely freeze up because in fact, your brain feels like you are in danger. So some of my tips here that I'm mentioning today are mainly things to do before you are ever in this type of a circumstance. Because as you know, mindset is a great driver of all of this. But if you find yourself on stage or in front of a camera and freezing up, then there are a couple other things that you could do as well. So let's jump right into it. So my first step is to concentrate on the things that are solvable long before you even get in front of a camera. So what does this mean exactly? Now, one of the reasons that we fear being on camera or public speaking in general is because we're worried what people will think about us. We're worried about their judgment and whether they will be criticizing our appearance or our content or our delivery. So some of these things are in fact not solvable for us, especially if we're speaking to a camera. We have no way to predict or to change what would be the reaction of the audience that would be watching that one day. So that in fact is not a solvable issue. The things that are solvable are whether you know your content well enough. So if you're someone who has a tendency to freeze up on camera, it is of utmost importance that you prepare well in advance so that your content is solid in your mind and you're not scrambling to understand it and think about it at that moment. You would also need to practice sufficiently. That's another thing that you can solve. Your actual appearance. Of course, we cannot all turn into movie stars overnight, but you should be wearing something that you are comfortable wearing, something that you feel makes you look and feel confident. That is a very solvable thing. So there's a few things like that that you can just think about before you're ever in front of a camera and try to solve the things that can be worked on, and the other things just leave it because we know that we can't take care of those things anyway. Now, the next thing to do before you even turn on the camera or step on stage is to breathe deeply. Now, people always think that this is just a big fluffy statement and that it's too simple to be true. But the reality is Olympic athletes do this. Grammy award-winning musicians and artists do this. So it is a very real thing to take a few deep breaths for approximately 1 minute, looking at a blank wall. So you don't want to be stimulated by anything going on in the environment. Look at a blank wall and breathe deeply, in through your nose, out through your mouth, and then just stand still. That really helps just to get everything moving, to get your oxygen, your blood flow, all of that. It's a really known thing that people often try to forget about because they think it's too simple of a strategy. But it really does help you to just settle your mind and to calm your nerves and then to get you to put your best face forward for camera. Now, the third thing that I want to mention is a classic mistake for people before they get out on stage or in front of a camera, and that is do not ingest too much caffeine or sugar before you go to make a presentation. Usually what happens is people think that they want to hype themselves up a little bit or they want to be just on a little bit of a high. So they try to have some caffeine or coffee or candy or chocolate or something that is sweet. The problem is, if you already have a tendency to freeze up on camera or you're already anxious about public speaking, what will happen is that you will feel a great burst of enthusiasm as soon as you turn on the camera and start speaking. Within a couple minutes, you will start to crash. Already we have the issue that when you are public speaking, there is a natural lull in that process. Everyone is enthusiastic and excited in the first couple of minutes, but then as the audience starts to settle themselves, as you start to settle yourself, energy has a tendency to drop anyway. That will be even more magnified if you are coming off of a caffeine or a sugar rush. So avoid any of these type of products for at least 1 hour before you have to turn on the camera. And that way you can just keep an even temperament throughout the entire time that you are on stage or in front of a camera. Now, the fourth thing that I want to mention is something that I am well known for, and that is don't try to suppress your natural body language. Now, of course, if you are practicing and preparing before you turn on the camera, then you want to watch what your body language is and sort of make a mental note as to any ridiculous and unneeded movements. But just general hand gestures like this, or turning your head to the left or right, any of that type of thing, waving, all of that is very natural in terms of body language. If you were sitting at a coffee shop with your friend and chit-chatting about something, you would also have a tendency to move your hands and your head in the same way. So don't try to suppress who you naturally are. If there's something very, very distracting to the camera, then that is something that you can make note of when you're practicing. But otherwise, just remind yourself that you are allowed to be on camera as your authentic self. The people who are watching deserve to see you as you are, so don't try to suppress any of your own true self. Now, the fifth thing that you can do ever before you turn on your camera or step on stage is to practice for 30 seconds daily. If you are someone who regularly freezes up on stage or on camera, or you feel really hesitant to face camera and to speak to it comfortably, then you should be working on that every single day. Because in the end, public speaking is a needed skill for almost every profession. And just like you would encourage your children to practice their piano daily, and then you would practice on things that you need to improve on, public speaking can be done the same way. So it's as easy as turning on your own smartphone, speaking into it, looking at the camera and speaking into it for 30 seconds daily on whatever topic, either a topic you don't know anything about or a topic that you're very well versed on, and then just watching it back. You will notice even after 7 or 8 times of doing that, meaning 1 week of doing that, you will notice a vast improvement, because each time you will find something that you can improve, and each time you will find something that you are really good at for public speaking. Some people are really good at making eye contact with the camera, but they never really notice this great feature that they have unless they're practicing and watching it back. So every day make a commitment to yourself to just practice a little bit, watch it, and make note of the areas where you might be freezing up or something might be triggering you to become more anxious. And then when you do that consistently for a couple weeks, you will notice a dramatic improvement and less of a tendency to freeze up when you're actually recording on camera. Now, my sixth tip goes back to what we were saying in the beginning about how we release all this cortisol and then we go into freeze mode. So when we go into freeze mode, our brain is telling us that we are in some type of terrible danger and that we need to freeze and stand still until the danger passes by itself. So, of course, there's no danger for us being on camera or being on a stage and speaking in front of people. However, if our brain has convinced us of that, the only solution for that, if you find yourself freezing up on camera, is to re-engage your body. So that means your brain needs a signal from you that you are not in danger, that this is just another circumstance and that you are absolutely fine. You will find that you are able to come out of that freeze very quickly if you do that. Now, the easiest way to do this is to re-engage your hands and re-engage your feet. If you are standing on an actual stage, it's a perfect opportunity to take a couple steps or to just move your hands very lightly in a way that people aren't really noticing it. If you're on camera and your hands are off stage or your feet are just off of the frame, then you just have to sort of wiggle your feet, wiggle your hands a little bit. Right away, those two very, very simple actions will convince your brain that you are still in the game, that everything is fine, that there's no reason to run away and go hide somewhere because you're in any type of danger. I guarantee you that if you try doing that just very, very subtly, that you will be able to come out of your freeze really quickly and regain where you were speaking while you were on camera. Now, the last thing that I want to leave you with is this. I used to be terrified of public speaking. I could not only not speak to a couple people, there was no way that I could stand on stage, and there was absolutely no way that I could record videos and put them out on the internet. By this point, I have put out almost 300 videos. I've stood on over 60 stages. So it's not by accident, and it's not because of any of my own talent or smartness. It's because when you realize that there is something that you have a bit of a phobia about, or that you're not that great at, it just requires a little bit of practice and a little bit of mindset around it. So I suggest that you try all of these strategies and practice yourself a little bit daily, every day at home. If you liked any of these tips, don't forget to send this video to any of your friends who you think might need to up their public speaking game. Don't forget to give it a like and to subscribe here so that you don't miss any of my videos where I talk about video marketing, social media, and how to use public speaking for your business. Until next time, take care.